I'd like to welcome you all to the candidate forum for the Eureka City Council candidates. We're going to be here to share with you some of their ideas and responses to some prepared questions. My name is Dan Clark. I'm the director of the MSU Local Government Center for Montana State University. I've been invited here to moderate tonight's forum. And if you had an opportunity when you came in, there are some 3x5 cards and some pencils. That as we go through the forum, if you have any questions you'd like to ask of the candidates, you can jot those down. In fact, I've been instructed.
Thanks a lot for being here. My name is Greg Thompson. Up until a few months ago, you probably knew me as Zoe's dad or the doctor's husband. My better half and I moved to the Valley 4 years ago. And in the time that we've lived here, I've met some of the most hardworking and talented people that I've ever encountered. I have some weird hobbies. I'm into paleontology, backpacking, spelunking, Krav Maga, and probably the weirdest hobby is I collect butterflies. Now, just for a visual that you're going to have a hard time forgetting, imagine someone like me running through a field with a really large net chasing a red-spotted purple. Awkward. I grew up in a small farming community south of Cleveland, Ohio. My family owned one of the largest farms in the area, and around 10 to 12 years old, I started rock picking soybean fields and helping move irrigation equipment. And I've been doing hard work ever since. The reasons that I'm running for town council, I believe, can be summed up with the letter that I have here. To give a Reader's Digest of what this letter entails, a citizen had a $29 issue with their bill. Basically what happened is the town lost their check. And because the town lost their check, they had to cancel the check and got a $29 fee because of that. They wanted a $29 credit on their next water bill. As we're answering questions this evening, I would like for people to ask themselves if you believe that our town has fair business practices. I believe this letter answers that question, and that's why I'm running for town council.
Thank you, Greg. Rosalie?
Hello, my name is Rosalie Adalto, and I've lived in Eureka for 26 years, and I am currently a council member. After 2 years of being on the council, I have learned a lot and would like to use my knowledge to continue bettering our community. There is still a lot to be learned and would be an asset to the town council by being a team player. If elected, I would like to continue to work on key infrastructure while exploring new opportunities for business and community growth. I have always had a good relationship with people in our town and feel people are comfortable coming to me with issues in the community. From being a longtime resident and volunteer, I have the background knowledge of our community to find working solutions to better everyone as a whole. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Kevin Jeffries, and I live in Eureka, Montana, which is a wonderful place to live. I landed here 5 years ago, bought a house downtown on 2nd Street, and I got approached by several people in town that wanted me to run for city council. And I'm here to help the city. I was born in Minnesota. I was raised in east of Minneapolis. I have 2 children who come to Montana often. I have relatives all over the state, in Helena, Great Falls, Sydney, Livingston, I feel that my time spent here has a positive influence on me, and I want to return that back to the city. I'm think they're in need. I think things need to change, and I'd like to be a part of that change. Thank you.
Responded to. So, Greg, the first question is, could you name one attribute that you would bring to the town council that will enhance the city's ability to best serve the needs of the public?
I believe that I do a very good job of researching both sides of issues. Anytime someone comes to me with an issue, my door is always open, and I research that issue. Had folks come to me with questions, and I've given them my time. And I feel that time is probably the most important commodity, and the people that have come to me with questions know that I'm willing to give them my time and do the research to answer their questions.
As I said before, I've been in this community for 26 years, and I feel that the people here know me, are comfortable speaking with me about issues in the community. And I think I would make a great asset to the council just by my knowledge of being on the council for 2 years and just knowing the community and the town of Eureka.
I think my strongest attribute, which will be a benefit for me if I'm hired to council, is honesty and straightforwardness in a proper way, in a council format. That's what I would like to give to the council.
An important function of city government is to preserve peace, order, and public safety. What should the town council be doing to meet this important governmental function?
I feel that being a council member, all council members should work together and be as one and come with the same solution and try to handle it for the community as best as they can. I'm an honest person, I'm fair, and I would hope that my fellow council members would be the same.
I think that already they're working on many different projects to keep it safe here, not only from the aspect of a solid police department, but also all of the work that's going on, the water, the sewer, all safety factors for the general public.
Something that I was made aware of in the last month that I believe that we as a town council could get to work on is the pay of our police officers. It's come to my attention that our officers are paid basically half of what surrounding towns are paid. And in order to provide the best services, I feel that that's probably something that we need to take a look at. Obviously, money is always an issue in a small town, but in order to provide the best services, I believe that that's something that we probably need to take a look at.
So you'd be the first to respond to. An important role of the city council is setting water, sewer, and solid waste rates. How would you approach balancing the system's long-term needs for maintenance and replacement with affordable user rates?
Well, it's not a mathematical issue or how many people are here, what the building is, what the improvements are. They're doing their best to keep those rates down by going to all kinds of different avenues to try to fund it. There's a lot going on in that particular sector right now. And in order to keep that down and be able to pay that is a balance that we're working very hard, the council is working very hard to try to achieve. With the best interest of the public in mind, their safety, the efficiency of the system, and keeping the cost down at the same time. How do you do that? You spread it out over a certain number of years, try to keep it equitable for the citizens of the city, and keep it in working shape, which is not easy to do.
Those long-term needs for maintenance and replacement with affordable user rates.
This is an issue that we just recently ran into. We had to raise the rates, when was it, about in June, I believe, to cover the cost of the Project 1A that we had going in the north end of town, and then also the water filtration system that we have going in. There's also some issues with, not issues probably isn't the correct word, but we also have this Midvale Water District that we're discussing. There's some ways to go about doing that. One of the ways is to keep the costs in Midvale or to spread the costs all the way around the whole town. Those are issues that are not easy to answer. Costs unfortunately go up. Inflation, those types of things. And so we have to make sure that as we do projects, that we are able to fully afford those projects.
As Greg said, the council members just decided on that not too long ago to raise the rates so that everyone would get a fair rate. And it's all by percentage, how many people are in this community. We try to keep the costs low, and they are very fair rates as they are now. But like you said, we're working on a new project in the Midvale area. And we also came to the conclusion that if you own the property, the owner should pay for all water bills and not the renters. This way, it would make sure that they will get paid.
All right, Greg, then you get the next question. This is number 4. What policies or ordinances do you feel the town council should be focusing its legislative efforts on in the near future?
Well, the ordinance that affects the most people every single month is the water and sewer ordinances. Now, when you read the water and sewer ordinances, I believe that there are things there that we as a council could address. As an example, right now, if the water line from your home to the street breaks, you as the homeowner are responsible for that cost, which I agree should happen. What we're also doing is we charge for the water usage. Now, as a homeowner, you might not know that that pipe is broken until the end of the month when you get that new meter reading. And so that cost can be very, very high. I feel that that's something that we probably could take a look at that would potentially help a lot of folks. Also, when you read how the water and sewer ordinances bill, there are billing differences. There are differences in the laws for hookups, etc. I feel like we need to make those laws, make those ordinances so that they are more in line with each other, and remove some of the things that are semi-contradictory.
That's a hard question. There's a lot of ordinances, but one of them was just having clean, good water and keeping our town clean, healthy, and to me the water and sewer rates are fine. I don't think we have a problem with any ordinance of that. There's a lot of different ordinances for signs, vehicles, dogs. I don't see any changes right now at this time.
Well, with the last meeting, someone brought up signage as far as all the street signs are antiquated and falling down and got put back up. And as I'm riding my bike around the neighborhood today, I thought that would be a big plus. But it's, we've got bigger things on the plate right now. As we drive around town, you can see that it's all pretty much under construction. Huge things, and a wonderful change for the city as far as making those come to fruition after 15 years worth of work. This, I can't believe the magnitude of that for a town this size. So they're doing their best. If they can hold, we can hold the costs down and moving forward, and have all of this in working shape. That's a tremendous thing. And we'll move on to street signs from there.
As a member of the town council, tell us how you would strengthen relationships with county government and state and federal agencies.
I think yearly, or we have a meeting with the government, with you, on different changes. Me as a town council member, I have been to those for last year and this year. And there is still a lot for me to learn about the government and the issues with the government. And I would just would like to better myself just by going to those meetings and find out more about government issues.
Well, I thought it was a tremendous boon for the council to have Mr. Zinke come and speak with us. I would like to see more representatives from state government come to small towns, and it was a really well-attended meeting. Obviously, people here feel strongly about that. I think this is evidence right here that people in this town would like to have more of a voice and an ear towards that directly from people coming here from the state government to speak at our meetings or at special meetings.
Just the county government and state and federal agencies.
Eureka is so much more than the folks that live in the little town. It's the hub of the whole area, from Trigo to the West Kootenai. There's a lot of people that use Eureka as their town. Thinking about the question, it would probably be a good idea to add that to the monthly agenda. Maybe the local county commissioner would be willing to come to the meetings and let us know what's going on at the county level that affects Eureka. To be honest with you, I've never really thought about it in those terms, and that's probably something that we should probably take a look at.
All right, so the question number 6, an important function of this town council is approving the budget. The budget reflects the town's priorities for investing in public resources. How would you determine the funding priorities for the town budget?
Well, I was fortunate enough to attend a meeting where the budget was okayed this year, and it seems like they went through, and the town council, it takes long deliberation to get those costs down and have all their ducks in a row before it ever comes up to vote. And there was essentially no question about whether or not it was fair and equitable for the city. Nobody wants to spend money, but you have to if you're going to get things done. It seems like they have a real good program in place right now.
everybody knows that in our town there's always budget constraints. There's a lot of things that we would like to do that we just can't afford to do. As Mr. Jeffries pointed out, signs. I feel like we could do a better job of incorporating the help of the community to try to get some of those things done at a lower cost. As an example, at our work session that included the budget, I believe it was a work session that included the budget, it was a work session very close to that, someone mentioned going to the larger towns to see if they might have signs that were available, that we could purchase or that they would even be willing to donate. I feel like looking at those types of things to help us meet our needs while also meeting our budget constraints is something that we could probably do a better job doing.
Well, it would be great if we could afford to have more policemen, better vehicles, but we are on a budget and we all have to comply with that. And we would have liked to have another clerk in our town, Eureka, but during the budget we couldn't afford that, so we just have to have a part-time. And there's a lot of beautifying that would be good for our town that we could use as a resource for the budget. Like, it's only a small town, so there's only so much money we have that we can do these issues.
Question number 7, how can the town council show leadership in engaging all citizens to create a vision for the community's future?
One of the things that I really wanted to do and that I would still like to be able to do is to empower people by getting people on these committees to help us as a council make decisions on what should happen in the future. And so I believe that that's something that we really need to work on. We have very, very talented people here that have good ideas, and that's something that I believe very, very firmly in, that we need to get people on these committees and get them to help us make decisions that benefit the town.
By showing leadership, I as myself would speak to different people in the community to see what their improvements would be, what they would have liked to improve our community. And we do have different issues that we do work on as a community. I myself have worked with the animal shelters and city streets and tried to improve those issues.
You got it?
Yeah, I think that the leadership role of the city is evident in the number of people that are starting to show up for city council meetings. Now we're standing alone, and that means people here are getting more involved all the time. In fact, I talked to somebody just the other day that said that you can expect probably half a dozen people at this particular forum tonight, and already we're at 30 people here. So things are changing here. It's an exciting time. People want to be involved. I think the main thing we need to do is to make sure that the public is getting a chance to speak so that they understand that they are a viable voice, not just something they'll learn about from the council along the line. So it's exciting. I like to see that kind of involvement, and I think it's good for the town.
So Rosalie?
What question am
Number 8.
I? Number 8?
Yeah, getting close. So this question is similar kind of on this community engagement aspect. It says, how will you provide leadership within the council as it engages all citizens in civil discourse around important public issues facing Eureka.
As a leader on the council, like I said before, I would like all council members to work together and to work with the mayor. If we cannot work as a group, we would never accomplish anything. I myself am an honest person, a fair person, and I would just like to have the rest of our council members be the same.
It's just important to keep a level head all the way through the process of meetings, away from the meetings, conversing with the public and other council people at all times, so that you have the cohesiveness that's displayed wherever you are, whoever you're speaking to, all the time. And that's the most important thing, I think, for this council, is to be able to run it smooth, make it work together.
I feel that it's important for people to believe that their leaders eat last and that they're willing to delegate to get things done. You oftentimes hear about team, and I'm going to give an analogy that I believe everybody will understand. If you have a basketball team that's made up of a bunch of 7-footers, is that basketball team going to win? If everybody plays the same position, is that basketball team going to win? You have to have people that have different talents in a group that are willing to work together and delegate responsibility, and then those responsibilities are taken care of. I believe that that's something that we can do a much better job of doing.
How can the town council best leverage its relationships and partnerships with other community leaders and institutions to promote investment in Eureka?
Investment in people or financial investment?
Investment in the community.
I think it needs to be an open door policy for people to be able to speak, let their needs be known, even if it's in addition to council meetings, which are public. There should be a Q&A session in between, if it needs to be, where people can get an update on what's happening from previous month's meeting. I think they need to be they need to be part of the process. And the more they're informed and the more feedback that we can get from them, the easier that will be to do.
That's a tough one, folks. I never really thought about it, to be honest with you. We're very cut off from our neighbors as far as the location on the map. We have a great organization in ERDP that I feel does a good job of trying to bring in companies. As an example, we have a company from Texas that is thinking about investing in our area. I believe that we have a lot of resources in hardworking people, and then also in natural resources that we can sell to outside businesses. And I feel that we do have some of the groundwork in place for those types of conversations to take place.
As a council member, I think it would be great if we could meet more community leaders, and I wish that more of the public would come to our meetings and make more comments in which would make them happy in our community, give us some type of what they would like, dislike, don't like, just come to our meetings more. And I'd like to hear what they would have to say to the public and the leadership in our community.
All right, so that's the prepared questions. Now, if you had an opportunity, if you have either in the back of the room, if you want one, there's some 3x5 cards or no cards. Looks like Tracy's collecting some questions, so if you want, we'll take just a couple minutes to sort through these questions, and we'll come up with some questions from the audience. Folks, is this like an interview? You're trying to figure out, do we want to, quote unquote, hire this one of these individuals to work on our behalf, keeping our collective interests in mind for the next 4 years? And so in many respects, this is like an interview that we're conducting here. So I kind of chuckle because one of the questions here is very much an interview question. Because we just got done doing a bunch of interviews at my office, and I think we've been asked one of these questions. If you could please explain or tell us one thing about you that you can improve on.
One thing about me that I can improve on. Can I walk and answer later? One thing I can improve on. Anybody that knows me knows that I can shoot from the hip, and it's not always a good quality. So I could not probably. I know that I could use a little more sugar, so to speak. I would probably say that's one of my biggest personality flaws. And so, believe it or not, I need to work on it. But that would probably be my number one thing.
More knowledge on the government and state issues, commissioners. I'd like to find out more information on that to improve myself. And maybe go to more meetings or something. Be a better speaker. I'm not a very good speaker, so I'd like to improve on that.
Probably for me, just to spend a little less time in the woods and in the river and get around and meet more people in town. And it's part of the reason that I'm in this position, trying to sit on the council that will spread me out. Working on my roll cast, if I could get that done, I'd be a lot happier.
Okay. What do you think is the most important issue facing the council?
Honesty, fairness, working together as one and working with the mayor.
It seems like the process of getting things done needs to be smoothed out, and just a lot more communication. That's the most important thing. Equitable communication that's both speaking and listening will make a big difference.
Fair business practices. I started off stating that's what I wanted to work on the most. I believe as a council, we need to do, as a town, we need to do a better job with fair business practices at every single level. From dealing with folks that have billing issues, to hiring contractors, to how council makes decisions. It all comes back to fair business practices, and we have to do a better job on it.
So because income for the town is as important as budget cuts, how would you propose to increase town revenue without increasing water and sewer rates or increasing taxes?
Well, we've got to make it more attractive for businesses to come here. I think for years, people here, just in speaking with them, they don't want Eureka to grow too fast. They don't want Eureka to grow too big. And now they realize that we don't have a workforce for our young people. And it has to grow. And that will help build equity for the young people to be able to stay. How do we do that? I don't have that answer. But ours is coming. So there's hope. We don't want to see a lot of those. But we want to have enough jobs for our young people to be able to stay here. And I think that's an important issue. I don't have all those answers because I don't know the infrastructure of that business community, how that works. But I hope to be able to answer some of those questions.
When I hear the word taxes, I'm assuming that they mean property taxes. Obviously, the only way that you can have income is to have taxes, and I believe that we need to take a look at a tourist tax. And when I say tourist tax, that's what I mean. A tourist tax. I would like to see if we can somehow set something up so that if you live here, you don't have to pay the tax. I haven't had time to research the laws on something like that. I think that that's something that could be set up. But we have a lot of people that come through that are tourists, that use our services, that use our roads, that I believe we need to somehow take advantage of that income that comes through the area.
That's a hard question because Eureka is basically a retirement town, and a lot of people in the winter go to a warmer climate, and it's hard for our businesses here to even keep open in the winter time. The state of Montana now doesn't pay taxes except property taxes, but it would be, if we could raise rates maybe for people that come in and camp or that type of resource, maybe we could better that.
All right, please describe your process for working through conflict with fellow council members, staff, and community members. Looking for your process for working through conflict.
Well, I believe that communication is the key for any conflict resolution. And the communication needs to be honest and open on both sides. So communication is the key for any conflict resolution.
I just hope that the counselors that I work with are honest and fair like myself, and then that we can talk to each other like adults and straighten out any matter, and to be honest, and like I said, be fair with the mayor, and make sure that the information you have is correct before you make any decisions or statements to correct it.
If I had conflict with someone on the council, first and foremost, it wouldn't be a knee-jerk reaction to it. I would accumulate all the information that I could, both from other council members, from other people, find the truth, and approach that person or either at the next meeting or make an arranged meeting to try and work it out.
got this split where you have the residences outside of city limits, but they have a business in town, and so some of the decisions that are being made are impacting them, but they don't necessarily have a voice in the ballot box. That creates some tension. This is a common issue across the communities in Montana. It's a legislature issue. The legislature has to deal with it. It's not something that the cities have the power to address that. So that's why but I think it speaks to this issue of how do we connect with those folks that have investment in the community but may not be a voting member of the community, because they live outside the city. And this question falls to Rosalie.
The best way that if you live out of town and you do have a business in town is to come to our meetings and sign up for public comment, and this way we can at least get your opinion or anything that you would like to state about your business that you cannot vote on. Whether you're like it or against something, like I said before, the public needs to come to more of our meetings to address that.
And just to have an open ear to the public, as I mentioned before, try to keep those channels open for those people. Several people I've talked to are upset that they don't get a chance to vote. And they want to be more a part of the community. Just as Rosalie says, that might be a real good option for them. But some way we're going to keep that channel open for those folks to give them a better avenue to be able to communicate with the council.
As I mentioned earlier, I believe that Eureka is the hub of the wheel for the area. And I've had probably a half dozen people come to my door that with issues and wanted to talk about things, and I didn't ask where they lived at. As council, I don't feel that location is a reason to not listen to someone. I believe that everybody in the area has a vested interest in the success of our town, and so everybody's voice needs to be heard.
And because Greg and Rosalie are currently on the council, is that correct? And so Kevin, if you can tell us how often have you been, we're just going to jump to you, right? Because so how often have you been attending city council meetings? Or I guess we're looking at what's your involvement been so far in engaging city government?
Mostly find out what the processes are. I've been to the last 2 meetings, and there'll be another one coming up before election. Before election, and I'll attend that one as well. There's been a lot going on there. A lot of big issues and a lot of new businesses that's come in, as well as the existing projects that are going on. So I'm still learning about the city process. I don't have a good handle on that, but the council is working hard for Eureka in many different ways. So I hope to know more about those committees in the future.
And then for the two that are serving on the council right now, can you tell us how many committees do you serve on currently, and what is your role on those committees?
I'm currently on the Parks Committee and also on the Finance Committee. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, committees are a big problem because they're not doing anything. I don't have an answer for you. I've tried to ask for information on how to get committees going, get the Parks Committee particularly going. On the Finance Committee, as we just talked about, we just renewed the budget. Unfortunately, I was never called to go over the budget, even though I'm on the Finance Committee. So I feel like people probably need to be asking that question, what's going on with our committees, and how come they're not doing anything?
I currently work on the Animal Shelter Committee and the streets, and I do make sure dogs have their licenses and dogs are on leashes, and she turns in her monthly report to our meetings. And for the streets, I do try to drive around for different roads that are in need of work and tell it to the mayor or to get some kind of improvement for our town workers. There is a lot to be improved for the streets here. There is very bad roads, which the town can afford some and can't afford any, but I feel that I'm trying to do my job as a council member on the streets.
So what do you see as the role of the council relative to employees and helping, holding them accountable?
Well, to be honest with you, that's the mayor's responsibility. So I mean, once again, I have an open door policy. Anybody can come and discuss with me an issue. As I mentioned, in the last month, I found out that our police force feels that they're not properly reimbursed based on surrounding towns and what they're reimbursed for the same service. And so, other than having an open door policy and then getting that issue on the agenda, as council, we really don't have any more authority than that.
Well, the mayor is in charge of the employees. The council really doesn't have any authority to work with. We know the employees. I guess if there's a problem with them, you could bring it up to the attention of the mayor, but as a council member, I really haven't seen any problems with employees.
The only thing I have to say is that they're keeping the employees in mind by giving them a better workplace with the new town hall and the construction going on there. It certainly will be an enjoyable place to work. 50 years and the cubby hole that they've been working out of, I think, is more than enough, and they'll appreciate that. And overall, they should be more sufficient and happier people.
Good. All right. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for attending and showing up. I hope that this has been informative and helpful for you as you think about the candidates, you think about your community, you think about where you want to go, and as you try to decide who would be the best candidate to help move our community in the direction you feel is important. Appreciate your participation with the cards and asking the questions, and I hope it's been informative. I want to thank the candidates not only for being here tonight and sharing your thoughts and views with the group, but also for your willingness to stand up and stand for election. It's challenging. This is a challenging job, and being willing to stand up and put your life under some level of scrutiny, to be grilled in this type of a forum, it does take a bit of character to do that. And so I want to appreciate your willingness to stand up and serve your community in this capacity. If there is nothing else then from the leaders of the group,